Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are across this great wide world of ours. And talking to you today in a disclosed uh, location somewhere in Cincinnati, Ohio. But the point I want to talk about today is I've been falling through with some of these issues on now that I have a law certificate in environmental energy law. Um, the issue becomes looking at what we need to do about renewable energies, and I'm thinking, and I'm not trying to belittle or berate the Trump administration, but the issue becomes uh, with oil right now, a surplus of oil right now, and now we want to do this thing with Venezuelan oil and bring that on, even though it's a thicker crude, and to get it processed in refineries. The issue for me becomes I was watching an expert on, I believe it was energy media out of Canada, and they were talking about how China right now, and, and the issue becomes for me is that the big users of fossil fuels right now are the United States and China, but that China has started using or looking at renewable energies. And this is where I uh, see where I think the issue becomes is that as the United States, even though we've got an administration that big on fossil fuels, and we go back to the Bush administration and one of his, and I believe I brought this up in my last topic, talked about that we have an addiction to oil. The issue becomes, do we as a nation, uh, though we do have Canada, British Columbia and all that with the the tar sands in which produces oil, and you got to basically frack it. And the issue for me with that, when we come to the environmental issues, is fracking or conventional and unconventional oil. Conventional oil, and I've said this before, we reached our peak sometimes uh, in the early 70s, and we can think about the oil embargo in 1973, and around that time is when we come, peaked at conventional oil. Unconventional oil is probably going to peak sometime, probably within the next 5 or 10 years. That doesn't mean that we're going to lose oil. It just means between the conventional, unconventional, there will be a slowly decrease. And the issue for me becomes why go down this route or go down this rabbit hole with oil, fossil fuels. Um, the issue becomes we should go convert over to uh, more things like solar and wind. And like I said, I wrote a little piece on President Trump's fascination with wind, but wind energy is a good source or helps with the reduction of fossil fuels. But my issue becomes, if we get rid of or we decrease the use of fossil fuels, I don't want to see the situation which, we look at West Virginia when all the coal mines closed. Those people became destitute and lost a lot of their revenue and became very poor. And the issue becomes that is one area of the country that really perks my interest because even though it's got big coal reserves, there's not really a lot been uh, uh, spent on conventional energy. So, and what I mean by conventional energy is, oil, gas, and coal. So the issue becomes, do we switch over to renewables? And there again, I think that is the best solution that we can come. Solar is wind, nuclear, and I know a lot of people are scared of nuclear, but there, I believe, and I'm to my uh, belief, a lot of power companies have pretty well have a lot of the safety guards in it before the issue when we talk about 3 Mile in the 1970s, and then the Cordoba uh, uh, disaster that occurred too. So the issue becomes, do we as a nation uh, convert to renewable energies? I believe I'm also big on mass transit. We have not really done anything on mass transit. I mean, we have Amtrak, but Amtrak has to get the government to fund it, and really any kind of mass transit should be enough to where it funds itself or becomes a reliable situation. Even though Amtrak is pretty efficient in the American Northeast, what we're talking about, Massachusetts, Connecticut, uh, Washington D.C. area, etc., Virginia. The issue becomes New York. Should I add New York City? The issue becomes that to create mass transit would be another solution to all this, and that what we're doing right now, I think, is it's taking our eyes off the ball of using renewable energies and creating mass transit, cutting back on our fossil fuel intake. And the big issue for me too is I believe in the capitalistic society. You know, I'm a big pro environment, but I also believe in capitalistic society because really it's going to be industry, it's going to be manufacturing that makes a difference in R&D, research and development, to get us to where we need to be more efficient in these renewable energies and also in high-speed rail. And if you come up with a company, such as in the intake of SpaceX, where you contracted this out and now you've got people flying to low Earth orbit, and there again, that's another issue, and I'm not going to cover that in here. But you have Musk Tesla cars, and there again, the issue becomes with that is the disposal of the batteries. Issue for me, like on the wind power, is the blades once they wear out, is disposal on the blades. But there again, if you put the money and the resources into research and development R&D, then you could come up with solutions. For case in point is many years ago in the 70s and 80s, I believe, when we looked at used tires and the people were worried about putting them in the landfill. Couple companies came up with uses of chipping it up and using it on playground or soft surfaces to 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 get the absorption from just ground or on playground. There again, the issue becomes converting old tires into another resource issue. And that's the same thing when we're talking about oil and coal. And there again, my big issue concerning coal and the issue of oil is that we have an alternative, that we don't get to the point like Texas, parts of Texas become like West Virginia, where we get rid of the coal or the coal industry, and then people have no jobs. And the big issue becomes creating affordability, accountability, and creating an atmosphere where people can have a decent life. Anyway, these are some food for thoughts. Please like and subscribe to my channel. Feel free to reach out to me at my email. You can reach out to me on that, And feel free to, I'm creating a website and also a thing on water safe, North America's safe and clean water. And part of that is also, if you want to help out on that, sure, because what I want to do is do a presentations at school, because really, even though the earth is made up of 75% water, only 1.5% of that water is drinkable. And when you think about that, and then whether you believe it or not, pros or cons with global warming, the issue becomes even more issue with what we do with drinkable water. And if we do have a rise in sea level, it's going to create a more of a problem for our drinkable water. So anyway, please like and subscribe to my channel, bthomasmillerpsych@gmail.com. It's bthomasmillerpsych@gmail.com. And have a great day and talk to you soon. Bye.